of the partners, your boy Tim.
Peace, family. Peace, family. Peace, kings, queens, everybody, all your sports fans. What's good? Happy Sunday. Did not originally think I was going to be able to get this out today, but it looks like I got a little bit of time here, so we going to do what we always do, and let's get this barbershop talk going. Today's topics. Well, actually, before I get into today's topics, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's the easiest way that you can support. And if this conversation, again, does resonate with you in some way, or you enjoy it, or you decide that, hey, I disagree with him enough that I want to come back and listen to how dumb he sounds, hey, go ahead and hit that sub button with the bell. Make sure you don't miss any content that we drop. Yeah, so let's get right off into it. This is Tiz Takes, sports talk for the casual fan. Now, today's topics, we got 3 of them as always. We're going to be talking NBA playoffs. I'm going to give y'all my top 5 NBA starting lineup of all time. And we're going to have today's Tiz Take conversation. We're going to talk about eras being compared. So let's get right off into it. NBA playoffs, man. I'm a little disappointed. Several of my picks, if you go back to the last episode of Tiz Takes, you'll know several of my picks have definitely not been correct. This has been a wild year for the playoffs. We've seen everything from injury to new defensive schemes to stars not showing up in the clutch. So it's been a really up and down year. It's really been anybody's game every night. Which as a fan, you gotta love it. The games have been great. It's been highly competitive series. It's literally been, you never really know exactly who's going to take it. The chalk has not won every series, which is good. So it's just been a great year for the playoffs. When we're looking at the East, my pick, which was the Celtics to come out of the East, is still fighting here. They're going up against the Heat. I definitely did not see the Heat making it this far. If you look back, I actually had the Hawks beating them. I definitely said it would come down to the interior game, and it did not. It literally came down to guard play in that series. But the Heat have made it. They are looking strong. They are one of the better teams as far as team play. When you look at the NBA, you got some teams that make it because they have, star quality at the top, and that star potential is just so high, it kind of overshadows a lot of other teams' talent. But when you look at the Heat, they are really a team of just scrappy role players who have all bought into a system and have all bought into just playing for each other. When you look at their defensive side of the ball, they're really just, it's really just will. They're not they don't really have necessarily a defensive stopper per se, outside of maybe Jimmy, and if you want to consider Bam an interior presence, but really it's just, they're just all sitting down, locking down, and just committed to that side of the ball, which is giving them an advantage on the offensive side. They're getting star players out of their normal game. They are flustering teams. They are frustrating teams. And it's led to them having a lot of success in the playoffs. So I definitely want to give them credit for making it this far. They definitely beat the Celtics in game 1. But game 2, I think the X factors for the Celtics are going to be, they showed up, and I think that's going to be the story of this series. Marcus Smart is one of those defensive X factors that really give Boston a flexibility that a lot of other teams don't have. On most teams, one of your top 3 offensive options is also one of your top 2 defensive options, which means that if they have to lock down on the opponent's best player, they're kind of stifled, and they're kind of limited in what they can do on the offensive end because they exert so much on the defensive end. What Boston has is their top 2 offensive players with Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They don't have to guard the other team's best player, which frees them up to really just focus on the offensive end and really let their gift shine in playmaking and in their scoring ability. So I think that is really going to be the story of this series, is Marcus Smart being available to the Celtics. I also think that if you get Al Horford back in this series at all, let me check on his injury status actually real quick. Because that's really that's their other X factor. So yes, he's coming to back. He's back. Smart's back. That's the tail of the tape right there. You have a big that can stretch the opponent's big out, and you have to respect Horford's 3-point shooting ability and his playmaking from that top of the key or that elbow spot. He has veteran leadership, and you got two decent defenders that are going to make it really tough on the Heat. The Celtics have a lot of long bodies. Like their average height is 6'6", 6'7", which means they can switch everything. They can close out quickly. They're athletic enough to close out, give you a bad shot, and then run off of the rebound. And I think that's going to be. I'm sticking with the Celtics. I think the Heat are going to make it a 7-game series. I don't see anybody just dumping the Heat off or getting rid of them. I think it's going to be kind of back and forth. But I do think that the Celtics have more firepower and a better defensive strategy when it comes to the way they're able to really free up their offensive superstars to be just that. So I got the Celtics continuing their reign. I definitely think it's going to be a 7-game series, though. If anything, we've seen from both teams that these are two of your premier defensive teams in the league, so they're going to make it hard on each other. Jimmy Buckets is playing out of his mind. He's going to pretty much be a wash with Tatum. I got them going back and forth in a superstar duel. And I got it coming down to just Jaylen Brown and the others for the Celtics being able to outshine the Heat's others. Now that prediction goes out of the window if Bam Adebayo shows up. I haven't seen Bam really asserting himself on the offensive end lately, which is huge for the Heat. He's a very versatile big man. He can play that big position in the small ball or in your larger lineups, but he can also handle the rock, which means he can take that other team's big on the perimeter and kind of create his own buckets from there. So if he asserts himself, then we're talking about a much more even and much more hard to call series. But as things have been going, I got Celtics in 7. Jason Tatum is about to go and see his first championship run here. In the West, I have no idea what to say here, man. My pick was either Phoenix for the head. My heart pick was Memphis. And both teams are sitting at home with me right now watching the playoffs. So as you can see, I was just completely out of it in the West. Golden State, I knew that they were good, but I had no idea that they were going to really start to catch fire the way they have. Jordan Poole looks like Steph Curry part 2. And that's scary, man. That's scary when you have a player coming off the bench that can play just as well almost as the starter. Not saying he's Steph Curry, but his ability to put the ball in the hole is top notch on that Curry level. So I definitely got the Warriors getting rid of why am I having this damn brain fart? Luka and them. I think Luka is arrived as a superstar in this league. I've seen some people trying to hate on him in the media, kind of saying downplaying what he's doing, kind of saying that it's Skip Bayless kind of saying that he can't shoot. Look, man, I don't know what you call it, but the guy is scoring at a crazy rate. He is single-handedly leading his team to victory some nights. Jalen Brunson is a good secondary scorer, but outside of that, it's really just Luka. I think the Warriors have found I think they have the personnel to throw at Luka. They can switch off with Clay and Wiggins. You got switching off from Wiggins to Draymond. And all of those are athletic, long 6'7" bodies that can match Luka's height, length, and they're more athletic than him. And I think what you're seeing is most teams have tried to double team Luka, which has allowed them to kind of take advantage of them with his playmaking ability. But the Warriors are not having to do that, which allows when Luka kicks it, they have a man ready to close out. Their defensive rotations are impeccable, and they're tiring the Mavericks out on the defensive end with the way that they constantly move. Warriors have some of the most high level movement on the offensive end that I've seen. They play basketball the old school way. It's not a lot of standing around. They take a lot of threes, but it's all based off of coming off of double screens, coming off of flares, coming off of baseline cuts, coming off of dives. Like they are constantly keeping you moving, which takes its toll when you then have to go back on the offensive end and still score with them. You know they're going to put up anywhere from 110 to 130 a night, and you have to be willing to put that up as well as defend them. And they have so many scores. They're so versatile. They have at least 4 legit options every time down the floor to score, which means you can never really focus just on Steph, which kills you. And that's the most difficult part. Until the Warriors face somebody from the East who have more versatile defensive options and can kind of switch with them, and be more effective on the defensive rotations. I think the Warriors take this series pretty easily. I got the Warriors in 5. Luka's going to put up his numbers, and I really do think he's arrived as a top 5 player in this league. It's hard to deny what he's done in these playoffs, and he's knocked off some good teams by himself. So I got to give it to him. But yeah, I got it being a Warriors Celtics finals. I'll give y'all my predictions on that once these series are done. I definitely think that I'm going to be right on these, though. Barring a major injury, I think the Warriors and the Celtics both are just too much for the teams that they're playing right now in the end. I think the Celtics have a more difficult task, so I got them in 7, and I got the Warriors in 5. So that's the playoffs. Which takes me to my next topic for today, and that's my top 5 starting lineup. Many people have put their starting 5s out, but I think that mine will be the ring to rule them all. I think it's going to be hard to argue with mine. Obviously, you could take it to the comments if you do have an argument, but I think it's going to be hard to really argue with the top 5 that I present to you here. Give me 1 second. Let me do that like that. Let me get rid of that there, and we're going to share like that. Yeah. All right. So we're going to start at the 5 position, and I want to say first, I'm basing this top 5, I'm basing each position on the traditional role that each position plays. So when I'm looking at a center, I'm looking at a traditional big man scorer that can give you a versatile way of scoring. I'm including people who can score from the perimeter as well as big men. So all big men are considered, but I'm trying to give you the best all-around big man that can take a man away from the basket, can post up, can give you rebounding, shot blocking, interior defense, can kind of anchor your defense, and give you pretty much guaranteed buckets when you need them in the paint. So for my all-time center, I'm going with Kareem, Abdul, Jabbar. Not only is he the number 1 scorer of all time, I think his ability to hit the sky hook from anywhere from 2 to 15 feet away from the basket gives him ability to score all the way out to the elbow. He can also hit a mid-range jumper. He's consistent from the free throw line, which is not a lot of big men strength, which means I don't have to take him out at the end of games. He's also going to give me rebound and give me shot block, and he pretty much just checks all the boxes when you look at what a big man can give you. Now, Wilt can put up more points, possibly, but he's going to be stifled if he has to be. If I need him to come away from the basket, can he still hit me a jumper? He also has to be taken out in the fourth quarter at certain moments if they begin to foul him a lot and the game is close. Same thing with Shaq. Very dominant in the post, can give me scoring, can give me all those other things, but the free throw kind of bites him. So I'm going with Kareem at my 5. At my 4, this is a more difficult position because I'm combining 2 eras here. I'm combining the pre-'80s era when the 80s and before era when fours had to be pretty much baby centers. Their main job was to rebound. Their main job was to be a defensive anchor, was to kind of do some of the dirty work that and free the center up, was to set a lot of screens. But they also were, scorers in their own right. For the forward position, I'm going to put Tim Duncan there. I think Tim Duncan he could best fit in any era. I think he can give me a versatile look if I need to play small ball and I need to move my forward down to the 5 spot. I still have a strong defensive presence there, a strong scoring presence. He can hit the jumper. He can hit free throws. He can guard the other man's 4 or 5 if I need to switch him off. He's also athletic enough to guard some wings on pick and pop or pick and roll situations. So I'm going with Tim Duncan as my 4 all time. Now, small forward is where it gets a little tricky because at this spot, you have a bunch of people that can be put here. You have Michael Jordan that by some is considered there, but I consider Jordan a 2 guard based off of his style of play. You got people like Durant who are super long. You got people like Dominique Wilkins who was considered a 3, but had a dominant presence on the inside too. So for my 3, my wing, my all around, I'm going to go Scottie Pippen. Now, matter of fact, let's take that back. I'm going to consider LeBron James as what he came in as and not what he plays currently. I'm going to consider him a 3, and I'm going to put him there. I think LeBron gives me everything that Scottie gives me, but he gives me a better playmaker. I also like the defensive versatility I get from LeBron, where I can switch him off on screen and rolls, and he can still play my 4s all the way through my 1s. I like that he gives me an extra playmaker on the floor to give my point guard spells when I need him to have those moments of rest. And he can check so many boxes. He can help on the rebound and he can give me assists. He can score with my and give my 2 guard a rest or my center a rest. He can block shots. He can lead my fast break. He's just a best all around player at that spot, at that 3 spot. He's a wing perimeter defender. And he can come in and help with my big man on double team. So LeBron James at the 3 spot. He can also start my fast break off of outlets off the rebound, which I really like. I like him throwing lobs to Timmy D or being able to hit my 1 and my 2 at will. Now at 2 guard, I'm going to go Michael Jordan. Now, I'm one of those people who do not consider Michael Jordan the greatest of all time. I do consider him a legend in his own right. I consider him one of the greats for what he did for the sport. But I do think that talent-wise, he is no longer the best ever, if I just had to be objective. But I do give people their right to say he is. I get where they're coming from, and I don't have a strong enough argument. It's just more of my preference. But I do recognize who Michael Jordan is. Now I'm going to be giving up something on the outside shooting. So I'm going to really be dependent upon LeBron to be able to kind of hit his outside shot when I need him to and be a help there. But I'm also looking at this starting lineup is going to take me into my tears take of the day. But when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at Jordan being able to convert and adapt his game to today's game. We've seen him hit 3s before when he needed to. He just simply didn't take a lot of them. So we really don't know what his effective 3-point percentage would be if he took a lot of them and if he worked on that skill. But I'm assuming that he would at least be able to give me a 36 to 37% average from the 3-point line, which I will take. It's not great by today's standards, but I'm considering my team a running team that's going to get out on fast breaks. That's also going to lock down on defense and half-court situations and be able to use the mid-range game or the 3-point game to get points. So we're not going to be relying on 3-pointer. We're just going to need them when we have them open to be able to hit them. So Michael Jordan's ability to lock down the other team's best scorer while still scoring on the other end, his fitness level, which a lot of people don't take into consideration, was up there with LeBron. So he's not going to get tired in the fourth quarter. He's going to still be able to give me that same defensive intensity. And if I have him locking down the other team's 2 or 3 and LeBron locking down their next best score, I feel pretty comfortable about if they get past, if the other team scores get past them and get to the paint with Kareem and Timmy D there. So yeah, Jordan on my other wing, gotta have it. Now at point guard, I'm gonna fix that 3-point shooting issue with the greatest 3-point shooter of all time, Steph Curry. Steph's ability to play make, he can take LeBron out of the game and allow LeBron to get a rest when it comes to bringing the ball up the court. His handle is crazy. He can take it to the paint if he needs to and get his little floaters and his high layups. But his ability to work off the ball is what I'm looking at. If I have LeBron James running the point forward, Steph doesn't need the ball in his hand to get his shot off. So him coming off screens from Tim Duncan and Kareem and him firing off 3-point shots from the logo is going to force the other team to not be able to double team Michael and LeBron. It's going to force the other team to have to give me single coverage every time up. Otherwise, if they sink in on anybody, Steph is going to be the recipient of that, and he's going to make them pay. So, and again, free throws. Everybody on this list is going to not be a liability at the end of the game with free throws. They all give me enough defense, and Steph doesn't have to now play defense because I can move him to the other team's weaker or scoring option on the wing or at the point and allow Mike and LeBron to take on that defensive burden. So I think that this starting five is pretty much foolproof as far as no matter what angle another team has to attack me with, I'm secure. So that's Tiz's top 5 starting lineup. Let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, who you would have put, who I should take out, who I should have added, etc. Let me know in the comments. Sound it off. Now, when you're doing a top 5 list like that, one of the things that is always difficult is comparing errors. And that leads me to my Tiz take. A lot of people, when they do these things, they say you can't really compare errors. You can't compare errors. You can't compare errors. Well, to me, I think that is true for everyone before 1980. Once you get to 1980s basketball, it is a close enough game and style of game to where you can effectively consider that if you had a player from the 80s playing today and gave them the benefits of what our players get, earlier training, more competition, more versatile training, where you have big men learning how to handle the rock and shoot at an earlier age. If you give them the benefits of nutrition and training programs that our modern athletes get, I think you can compare these eras. I think it's if you have an imagination, because that's really what you're doing here. You're imagining what things would be like if you took a person outside of it. I think us video game heads are probably a little more equipped to do this because that's what we do on video games all the time. We effectively take a player and we imagine what that would look like today. If you took Wilt today, all you're looking at is Giannis. That's the same player. You're actually looking at maybe a better Giannis because Wilt was stronger than what Giannis is. Physically, from a bench press, I can go in the weight room type of standpoint. So that means some of these double teams that is stifling Giannis, Wilt is dunking on that. Similar height, similar build, similar speed, similar athletic ability. You're just now giving Wilt the ability to train as hard and eat right like Giannis does. And I'm considering Wilt because he was still around in the 80s. He played that style of basketball. Late 70s, if you want to consider it. But, you take a Magic Johnson, you give him the same training that we have now. You're looking at LeBron. If you watch Magic Johnson's career near the end of it, he was starting to develop a 3-point shot. The passion was still there. He would have been a better defender had he been forced to. Like it converts. So I think that media needs to get out of this thing of like saying that you can't compare eras, so you got to just respect them for what. Nah, you can. I can objectively say that if Michael Jordan was in this league right now, he would not be much better than what he was then. The only difference is he may take more threes and drive less. But I don't see him being that much better because his era is close enough where, like, we saw what his max was. I don't think that's better than LeBron's max. And I don't consider rings an end-all, be-all in a team sport. We're talking golf. You can count up the jackets or the championships won there, and I can consider that take that in consideration. But in a team sport like football or basketball, I consider what your talent was, what you did as an individual, and I compare that to other individuals. A lot of shit got to go right for you to be a champion in basketball or football. Your teammates got to lock in and be mentally on the same page. You got to not have a lot of drama going on with your wife off the court. You can't be stressing about your baby being sick and in the hospital for a whole month. You can't be worried about losing a bunch of people. You can't be going through COVID and I you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to take into consideration when it comes to team. But when I'm looking at you as an individual, I can see and test that out and see, okay, no matter where you were as an individual, you're going to do that. And when we're looking at individual stats, there's people who are better than Jordan. I'm sorry. I know what he means to my generation, so I get my generation's fixation with him. I get it. But in 20 years, kids are going to be 40 and they're going to be looking at LeBron the same way we look at Jordan. The same way the people before Jordan looked at a Wilt. Like that's just what it is. That goes with growing up in a time. It's people that still think KRS-One is the best rapper, even though there are people who can put words together better than him. So, like, we know what it is. It's nostalgia. You feel me? So I think that we got to get out of this. We can't compare eras because my era was the best. No. Objectively look at what the person did, their personal accomplishments, how well they did something. And when it comes to basketball, when you even look at the eye test, there are people with better crossovers and better handles than Jordan. There are people who assist better than him. There are people who can dunk equally as good as him, though. There are people who can shoot a fadeaway equally as good as him. But does he check all those other boxes? And he had a chance to. The three-point line was there when them people played. We can't keep looking at it. Man, get out of here. When comparing eras, we got to look at players objectively. I can put LeBron James in any era and he would do what he did. He would probably do it easier in old eras just because the rules and the way the average player he would be playing against would be of a lower caliber. The 12th string man today would have been a starter on a lot of teams back in the 50s through the late 70s. That's just the way the leagues were set up. Now, if you have a player back then that was scoring 30, they would still probably be scoring about 27 now. They were just great athletes. But they were also doing it against a team where they were playing against maybe one other superstar, and everybody else was kind of your local construction worker. These dudes had jobs in the off season. These were not dudes that were committing themselves to a sport. So, yeah, man, compare the eras, but let's do it objectively, and let's stop making rings be the end all be all in team sports. All right, you got a sport like golf, tennis, somewhere it's me versus you, and I have personally beat these people individually by myself. Cool, but you got some people that they might have more rings than somebody else, but their playoff performance and their finals performance may not be as good as somebody else's. I'm sorry. We got to be fair in this. We got to stop putting feelings into objective conversations. And sports is that. Sports is objective. There's a winner and loser in sports. There are stats in sports. People keep track of how many times someone does something compared to how many times someone else does something. If we're not going to use stats, then let's get rid of them completely and just use your eye test and just make it a completely objective thing where who wins is based off who we liked more. But this ain't that. Sports ain't that. Sports has a winner and loser. It has a score. It has an objective way to find out who did something better. And there's no way we're going to look at stats and tell me that there's a shooter from back in the day that shoots better than Steph Curry. You're not going to tell me that there's a player who has been more impactful in championship series than LeBron James. And I'm not a LeBron fan. But you don't make it to that many championship tries in a row, meaning you, no matter what the team around you was, continuously outdid other teams who were constantly gearing up and formulating their teams. What's up, Andrea? How you doing, Queen? But you are constantly tooling up against other teams that are designed to beat you, and you're still making it to the championship. That means something. That's an individual accomplishment that is not many people have done. The only people that have done stuff like that is Bill Russell back with the old Celtics. But in the modern era, nobody has dominated the finals like that. Yeah, he didn't win all of them. I grant that, but that's hard enough as it is to beat somebody, to beat a different team every year in a row 4 times. We got to be objective in these comparing eras conversations. For one, if you're before the 70s, late 70s, you're probably not even going to be able to be compared to it's just a completely different game. But once the late 70s kick in and you start getting closer to the NBA ABA merger, and that the basketball been basketball since then. The strategy has changed, but the game itself is still the same. If I can out handle you, I'm going to get past you and get to the hole. When I get there, I need to have a layup package. If I can't get there, I'm going to need to have a jump shot. Passing the ball is the quickest way to get the ball around. Like these are basic fundamentals. If I out rebound you, I'm going to win. If you got more turnovers, you're probably going to lose. Like these are just basic fundamentals. So like the game is the game is the game. The game players have gotten better. Just like cars can do more, players can do more. They are better physically. They have more time to devote to being better. So let's stop acting like the old era is so great. It was great for what it was. We don't get here without it. But just like anything else, progression is just that. Things getting better because of the things that came before. It doesn't negate the things that came before, but it does mean that things are supposed to get better. The student should, at some point, outdo the teacher if the teacher does his job right. So old heads in the basketball world, you did your job right. Be proud of the young era and stop being old curmudgeons. That's this week's Tiz Take. Hope y'all enjoyed this conversation. I got another one coming at y'all next week. We'll continue this NBA playoff talk. I got another talk. We're going to be talking about some football. And for those that are into it, baseball. My team, we're loading up to get us another championship. So let's go Braves. Let me look back through these chats. See any comments that might have come in. I see a little red thing there to tell me somebody said something. Okay, I said, what's up to Andrea? What's up, RT Edutainment? How you doing, fam? Peace, peace, peace. Nutrition and medicine has changed a lot about the game. Exactly. That is probably the number one thing in sports that is different. Time and nutrition and medicine. Players are recovering faster. Injuries that used to be career ending are now 6-month recoveries. Nutrition. Players' bodies are better. If you look at the average players' bodies now, these players are cut like action figures. They all look like fucking G.I. Joes. Back in the day, everybody had a dad bod. Even your star player looked like George Jefferson. Like, it's just different, man. This is a conversation that should be had. Children are being taught it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Everyone is winning. Oh, hell no. Participation trophy culture is the worst thing that has happened to sports and society in general. It has led to everyone coddling people, trying to make them feel better, as opposed to actually being honest and doing the work that it takes to actually continue to grow as people. You look at players these days, if you bench them, they literally have mental shutdowns, sabotage the team, and force trades. Back in the day, you got benched. You looked at that as not as I'm a complete failure, but I am messing up. I need to improve at something. Let me work harder at this thing that I'm doing. Like, people, like, there was just a difference in mentality. It doesn't mean that people are soft. It's just that people have been told now that your feelings matter more than facts. You go out and play a game where you have 9 turnovers, or you are shooting 8 for 25, and someone calls you Westbrick, and that means more to you because it makes you feel bad than the fact that you are paid to put the ball in the hole and you're not doing a great job of it. Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I hate that we are living in that era, but I pray that we get to a place again where people can deal with truth and not, like, shut down and crawl into a hole. Like, I deal with anxiety disorder, but I can still take the fact that sometimes I'm gonna fail this shit. Shit ain't gonna always go well. I'm gonna lose games. It can't be the end all be all. You just work hard and you get better. And yes, defensive linemen these days are as fast as running backs and wide receivers used to be at the combine. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, if you look at kids now, man, you got kids, like my son is 7. I have kids that go to his elementary school, and I see them, they got personal trainers already. Some of these kids got 6 packs at 7 years old. It's just a different level of importance that's been put on it because the paychecks have went up. Back in the day, you were making, decent money, but you weren't rich necessarily because you were a pro athlete. So it wasn't like your parents were telling you, "Oh yeah, let me invest all of our time and money in you now to groom you to be that." It's just a different era. But because of that, you know what I'm saying, we have to be honest about that and realize that things have changed, man. That players are better now. It is what it is. Micah Parsons, you've never seen nothing like that. We now have a defensive lineman that can play linebacker or defensive back. You can put him everywhere and he's effective. We've never seen something like that. You got a guy in Giannis that has gotten better every single year, and he's already the most dominant player in the league. And he's still getting better. That used to be the peak of the average superstar player in the league. We're now seeing where the peaks are no longer that. We have players that are shooting from half court, and that is a commonplace and a good shot now. Things are changing. We got to get with the era's changing, man. And that's really it, man. But that's my Tiz take. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Continue the conversation in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. We should be at you tonight with our live show from the partners. You didn't ask us, but where we react to random topics and clips from the week. The podcast will continue to come out throughout the week. Also be looking out for content from Face and Pat throughout this coming week. My work week is going to be clearing up soon, so I got about a week of really, really, really tough, intense work, and then it should be getting to a good place where I'll have more time to record. So I'll have more of these Tiz takes, more shows coming at y'all. But continue to stick with us. Continue to check on the community page as we keep y'all updated on what's coming. And yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe. Comment below. We out.